Hello everyone, we are Group K. My name is tut14-group. This is our video assessment. Today we talk about Saudi Arabia. First, tut14-group present question 1, policy, economy, and role in Saudi Arabia, and what we should do to enter. Second, Repon present question 2, main numbers about the economy and place. Third, Willie Shen present question 3, cultural difference between Saudi Arabia and Australia. First, Jia then present question 4, which fields Saudi Arabia should focus on. Ideas from Smith and Ricardo. Fifth, Huntington present question 5. Trading rules used now, and which trade idea fits best. So, why we choose Saudi Arabia? Vision 2030, the country opens more and trades new kinds of business. Big scales, many mega projects and special zones. Good match with Australia, meaning METS, clean energy and H2. Agri-food, health, education, logistics. Now we start off the question 1. How does the world economy change study, policy, and economy? Which role issues matter for an Australian first? Short answer is more open, still lead by step, hire local early, and follow the rules well. So the policy and economy, what is mean for us? Politic decisions are central, so action is fast. There are mega projects and special zones. Government buy-in is important. Economic, not only oil now, also petrochemicals, meaning logistics, tourism, events, green energy. From outside, our more forest money and forest workers, local hiring rules means we hire and train local people. What we do, plan local staff and local suppliers from day one and send food and carry by paper. So now is the law and business rules. Simple talk way. Based in Sharia, uh, but model rules for business, new update rules, company laws, rescue rules for weak firms, fair market rules, business costs. Contrast, rather law will use the place central to solve disputes, for example, SCCA and IP and data. Clear rules for idea, brand right, and data. Starting a company is faster. For rich ownership, many sectors open, but limits are different. Trade permit and share limits. So, how to enter and work locally? The entryway, joint venture is JV, helps with local ties and approvals, wholly owns, maximum control and brand care. Project company, SPV, keeps project risk spare rate. People, meet local hiring target, manage visas, make a training plan, keep good people. Supplies, show a local contact plan, step-by-step local buying, help with quality and needed certificates. And government links, one loosely which is change and talk to office. So the contract and key checks, simple checklist for safe deals. In a contract, law plays central to solve disputes. Language, law change, big events we cannot control. Money, legal interest fees, step-by-step payments, audit and dispute offset rights. Ideas and data, who owns what, keep secret, send data across borders, checks on sub-suppliers. Controls, not library, no money laundering, sanction checks, value added tax, VAT, and ZCAS tax, e-invents. Daily work, watch rule changes, do yearly training, check third parties, keep an audit train. The note, ask local lawyer to review before signing. So the next one is the where to pray and handoff. The title is the best arrears and handover. Meaning and METS, my service, safety water, clean energy and H2, equipment operation linked to the power grid, logistics, cold chain, quality mass, hardware processing, plus health, education, and infrastructure, logistics, post and access care. The course line, that is our answer to the question. So now I hand over the radio point for question 2, the main numbers for the economy and people.
I'm going to talk about with the part 2. Question 2 is about economic and human development indicators. For these two indicators, economic development indicators is included GNI, FDI, trade options, GDP, and PPP. GNI is gross national income. FDI is foreign direct investment in firms. GDP is gross domestic product, and PPP is gross domestic product per capita, GDP per capita, purchasing power parity adjusted per capita, and the trade option is influenced by export and imports as a percentage of GDP. And for human development indicators, it included HCI, HDI, GER, and education. Human Capital Index means HCI, and HDI means Human Development Index. Education including life expected at birth, mean years of schooling, expected years of schooling, and GR is gross enrollment duration. And about Economic Development Index, I want to talk about this with 3 points: GDP, FDI, and industrial structures. For the FDI, in said arable, foreign direct investment or means FDI plays a major role in driving productivity and technology transfer. And for the industrial structures, oil exports still dominate in the economic, but non-oil exports are generally increasing, showing the beginning of diversification. For the GDP, it be positively influenced by human capital and FDI stock. It actively access with capital goods imports, domestic R&D, and non-oil exports, and they have something similar with the Human Development Index, and now I'm going to talk about this. Now moving to human development, said arable ranks high on the Human Life Index, around 0.81. It is higher among these arable countries, but it's still gaps in income inequality and access to healthcare. And the second is education. For the education reforms, especially under Center Vision 2030, are promoting educational inclusivity through changes reminds from disadvantaged groups. And for the Human Capital Index, it have a big connect with technology transform. It's proceeding for new technologies to be effective, and it's implement the R&D scholars and enhance the technology scholar expected of FDI, which just talk about it in the economic part. And now, Australia compares mentions considerably high human development, thanks to well-estimated education and health system. And now I'm going to talk about said arable and Australia have some difference. Looking more closely to the Human Capital Index, in said arable, the HCI rose from 0.55 in 2010 to 0.58 in 2020. Importantly, the gender gap narrowed. Female HCI grows from 0.56 to 0.6, while HCI male increased only from 0.54 to 0.56. Australia, however, shows a much higher level, which the HCI stayed between 0.75 and 0.8, and a smaller gender expression. This reflects Australia's stronger foundations in human capital development, and something about the capital of Australia and the said arable with a difference. Turning to the trade platform, said arable export grew from 244 billion US dollars in 2050 to 278 billion in 2021, but showed higher variety due to fluctuation in global oil price. Incomes, by contrast, remain reliability stable. And for Australia presents a different picture. Its exports increased stably from 182 billion in 2015 to 335 billion in 2021, while imports also rose consistently. At the same time, Australia domestic credit growth was highly volatile, inflated fluctuating in leading a tech activity. And now I want to get some conclusion with this. To conclusion, Australia demonstrates strong development advantages with a stable economic, high level of human capital, and realistic trade structures. For set arable, it making process in education and human capital still show greater variety and remains development on the energy sources. And for this, if Australia want to get into the set arable market, it should be focused on the skills and education and maybe something with the culture. So now let's welcome Wisher Xuan, who will share the culture distance with Australia.
Hi everyone, my name is Willie. Thank you, Will Peng, for your presentation. Today I will state the country distance between Saudi Arabia and Australia. In my ways, I believe the culture of Saudi Arabia and Australia are significantly different. I will use the how the cultural dimension and the role single cultural increase to vary. Ultimately, covering the way that the culture of two countries are converging or diverging. And starting with hosting, I will analyze only the three most significant differences. First, power distance index. Australia generally is a low PDF. Organizations are more egalitarian, hierarchy or flatter. Upper feedback is incurred, and many decisions can be deducted to the firmlight. Saudi Arabia, however, is above the higher PDI. This means weight is emphasis of title, significance, and the relationship. Consequently, higher voting relationships in Saudi Arabia are not region. The management innovation agreed. Collaboration in Saudi Arabia should follow a top-down approach, security in sponsorship, communication, transferring information to accounting in the opinion part. Observing for adequate and avoiding bypassing superior. This supports significant reduce friction arising from perceived disrespect. and second, individual and collaborating in the individualism and collectivism. Australia is high individualistic, roles are clearly defined, responsibility assigning individual and the performance and personal goals. South Arabia is more collectivist. Loyalty to the include discipline and long-term commitment influencing coordination and decision-making. Thus, the precious person reverse relationship first trust, second judgment, and the third indulgent restraint. Australia supports however the Saudi Arabia support lower indulgent. This implied in Australia, lifestyle and self-expression are more important. We less humor and emphasis on personal trait. In Saudi Arabia, popular tension is a more in the modern emphasizing social note and real cultural transformation without getting into stronger income or behavior. This reveals the fundamental cultural divergence between the two. Okay, next is the next is the second framework, Browning and Schwenker cultural question. By dividing the world into the distinct cultures based on geography and history, we see the country with greater cultural similarity tend to compare more easily. Australia belongs the Anglo cluster, while Saudi Arabia belongs to the Arab culture. Their cultural group different. And Australia value individualism and operate with a low contact communication framework. Uh, Saudi Arabia conventionally function with the high contact communication framework, placing significant emphasis on the relationship. Saudi preferred in the direct communication, unlike Australia, who favor direct problem parenting. The difference can create challenges. For example, when the Australia company their competitiveness in Saudi Arabia, the direct approach to contract discussion common in Australia may be perceived offensive, presenting this same challenge. Okay. In the summary, global has faced convention. Many young Saudi could become very Western passengers from studying abroad, working in multinational 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 company no never never sounding graph. However, Saudi Arabia display little religious value and traditional norms still lead to significant cultural divergence from Australia. Therefore, although conversion exists in consumer business permanency, this overall cultural gap has been substantial. Substantial. Thank you for listening. So next part is the question for.
Hello, I'm Jianrui Zeng, and I will talk about the question 4. Trade specialization, Adam Smith vs. David Ricardo. About Adam Smith, his opinion is absolute advantage. His core idea is producing more output or the same output with fewer inputs through specialization. Absolute advantage means a person, a firm, or country can make a good with fewer resources or produce more in the same time. Focusing raises total output, productivity improves because practice builds skills, splitting jobs cuts time with switching tasks, and using tools and machines speeds work together. These create the benefits of absolute advantage. The effect is strongest in manufacturing, where work can be broken into many small steps, as in the Smith spin factory, while farming is harder to divide it and shows smaller gains. And about David Ricardo, his opinion is comparative advantage. His core idea is countries should specialize where their opportunity cost is lowest, that trade makes all better off. Even if one country is better at making every good, both can still gain from the trade if each focused on the goods it makes at the lower opportunity cost. Ricardo's case uses simple assumptions. One input with constant returns, workers can move between industry at home, but not across borders, as no transport costs or trade barriers. So full specialization is possible. With trade prices settled between the two countries' own opportunity costs, each country specializes in the goods that uses less labor per unit, exports it, and imports the other at this in between prices. Buying at the price is cheaper than making it yourself, so both are better off. Which industries should Saudi Arabia specialize in? Applying Smith to Saudi Arabia focus where skill and job splitting go furthest. Assembly line manufacturing, petrochemicals, and refining. Advanced food processing, high-value chemicals or materials, and large ports. Repeating narrow tasks builds skills and speed. Big plants and machines cut labor per unit. Maybe nearby supplies along the chain lift efficiency across firms. These sectors raises output per work and capture the gains Smith stressed. And about David Ricardo, his use is comparative advantage that made the goods they can produce at lower opportunity cost and trade for the rest. For Saudi Arabia, start with clear cost strength. Crude oil, refined fruits, and petrochemicals. Then grow lean sectors using the same strengths, just like large capital, cheap energy, or the industrial skills. And then, just like some downstream chemicals, fertilizers, and base-heavy industry. Exports what is cheaper to make at home, import what is dearer, and income rises move into new areas just like the large solar or green hydrogen. Only when they truly offer a lower opportunity cost than today's strength. So I think they should follow a pragmatic strategy. I think Saudi Arabia should follow Ricardo's rule in the near term first, and then use Adam's strategy for the medium term. Export what Saudi Arabia does best today is oil, refining, and petrochemicals to earn large revenues and direct those earnings into building the infrastructures and skills that let new industries grow through civilization. The steps are: the first, use today's comparative advantage to raise funds. The second, invest in schools, industrial parks, ports, and factories so firms can specialize and lift productivity. And then cut economy-wide risks from oil price swings and global political shocks by creating other export earners. I think is very important. Actually, over time, build scalable clusters. Near term, refining petrochemicals, energy-intensive basics like steels, cement, and fertilized. And then, in the medium term, they should focus on renewable hydrogen, tourism, and hospitality. As last, in the long term, they need to develop skill-intensive exports such as advanced logistic service, financial, digital platforms, and education, which become new comparative advantage and support borders, more diversified growth.
Hi everyone, I'm Hao Qingzhen and I will analyze Saudi Arabia's trade policy instruments and the trade scenarios they reflect. Our focus is on how these tools shape Saudi Arabia's global trade strategy and support its ambitious Vision 2030 agenda for economic diversification. By moving beyond oil dependency, the kingdom seeks to build global competitive sectors, and trade policy is one of the key levers enable this transformation. Local content requirements push firms to source more domestically, strengthening supply chains and creating jobs. The Saudi Arabia's Industrial Development Fund provides long-term financing to strategic sectors, while incentives like tax exemption and special economic zones attract multinational investment. Finally, agencies such as the Saudi Export Development Authority actively promote non-oil exports to raise competitiveness in global markets. These measures can be linked to several trade scenarios. Adam Smith's absolute advantage explains Saudi Arabia's dominance in oil exports. Ricardo's competitive advantage justified the push into areas such as solar energy, tourism, and mining where opportunity costs are lower. Crucially, strategic trade theory explains why the state investment heavily in nurturing emerging industries such as renewables, technology, and mining through job subsidies and protection, so that local firms can compete globally against established foreign players. We can see these scenarios in action across industries. In the automotive sectors, tariffs and subsidies attract Lucid Motors, a U.S. electric vehicle manufacturers, to set up local production. This is a strategic trade scenario in practice. In oil and petrochemicals, OPEC quotas reflect mercantilist principles by protecting revenue, while downstream investment in petrochemicals creates add value beyond the crude oil. Renewable energy. Governments subsidies for solar and hydrogen projects shows a long-term commitment to strategy trade the scenery, build competitiveness in future industry, and in branding, the Made in Saudi initiative boosts national identity and helps local products gain recognition abroad. Each of these examples demonstrate how trade policy are not only protecting current strengths but also build renewable competitive advantages. To conclude, Saudi Arabia's trade policy is a hybrid model. On the one hand, the country embraces openness through WTO and GCC commitments. On the other hand, it applies tariffs, quotas, and subsidies to shield and growth domestic industries. While absolute and comparative advantage scenarios help explain some of these choices, the strongest link is with strategic trade theory. The Saudi's government plays an active role as architect, guiding the economic toward new industry while maintaining its oil dependency. Trade policy in Saudi Arabia's functions both as shield, protecting domestic sectors, and as a sword, creating new competitive opportunities. The dual role is central to Vision 2030, which aims to transform Saudi Arabia into a diversified global competitive economy. This is our reference list. Our presentation is over. Thank you.